Today we're going to look at the simple present verb tense. So we'll look at the most common verbs, be, have, and do, why we use the simple present, how we use it, some frequency adverbs that indicate to us when to use it, and also some of the common errors that people make when they're using the simple present. So the easiest verb perhaps, but one that causes a lot of confusion, is the verb to be. The affirmative form is I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, of course. We are, you are, and they are. I've only written the you form once. For negative, you just add not to the verb. So I am not, you are not, etc. And for a question, you put the verb form, the conjugated verb of be, in front of the subject. So who am I? Where are you, for example? Is he, is she, or is it? So why is he late, for example? Where are we and why are they? Of course, those question words may change depending on the situation. We use the verb to be when we talk about age. So I am 27 years old. She is 26. We also use it to talk about emotions, like he is scared or they are tired. For size and shape, my house is round, my remote control is rectangular. For hunger and thirst, this is not the same as in French, or in Spanish. In English we say I am hungry or she is thirsty. But for temperature and time, we also use the verb to be. So it is late, or what time is it? Or you could also say things like it is cold, it is hot. Or even if you're talking about yourself, you could say I am cold. There is and there are. We use these expressions to talk about the existence of something. It becomes like a false subject. There is one person in line. There are 3 students. You see the difference? I use there are when I can count, so with a non-count, or with a count noun rather. I can also use the structure in questions. Why is there no electricity? And I can make my question negative. Why aren't there any chairs in here? I could also just make my sentence negative. There aren't enough computers. You see the Spanish and French equivalents to these expressions. All other verbs, when we use a simple present in the affirmative form, you add an S to third person singular. You know this already, it's just often hard to remember it. So I work, he works, he plays, he studies. In this case, you see, for studies, here I have a Y, but here I've changed my Y to I, and I add ES. So we'll look at the spelling rules, maybe, I guess, in class. For all other verbs, again, except the verb to be, to make it negative, you conjugate the auxiliary. So I don't work, I don't study. So my auxiliary is the verb to do. This is what I want to conjugate. In fact, it doesn't really make a difference until you get to he, she, and it. She doesn't work, or you could also say she does not study. So doesn't is the contraction of does not, and the verb comes back to the base form, so you do not conjugate the verb. For questions, we use the same idea that you want to conjugate the auxiliary, which is once again the verb to do. And this time the do goes before the subject. So do I work? Where do I work? Do you study? How often do you study? Why does he work? So here I've conjugated my auxiliary, which means I put an S on it for third person singular. And my main verb goes back to the base form. There's no S here. How often do we work? And why do they work? So we'll look more throughout the semester at auxiliary placement in your sentence. But in general, your auxiliary in a question goes before the subject. We use the simple present to talk about facts. So Sherry teaches in Bromont, it's a fact. The simple truths: the sun rises in the morning, the sun sets at the end of the day. We also use it to describe habitual actions. So Marcus jogs every day, or he jogs 3 times a week. And customs: we celebrate Thanksgiving in October. Certainly in my family we do. It's my favorite holiday. Keywords that can indicate to you that you might want to use the simple present are always, frequently, generally, occasionally, sometimes, often, usually, never. There are others which you might want to look at. I think they're in your book. And where do we place them? After the verb to be, so she is often late. Before other verbs, he usually arrives on time. After the auxiliaries, he can't always help. Or after the subject in questions, do you usually study for tests? In this case, you could say that my frequency adverb goes between the subject and the verb. So usually it goes between the two of those. Some common problems that people have when they're using a simple present is they forget to put the S on the third person singular. He lives, don't forget. She thinks, or it snows. Sometimes I also see that people will put an contraction, like an apostrophe here. That's incorrect also. And don't forget that we pronounce the S in English. So he lives, she thinks, it snows. I'm exaggerating a bit. Another common problem is making the negative, so using the correct auxiliary. I don't have. Have is my verb, don't is my auxiliary, or she doesn't know. Don't forget to conjugate your auxiliary. No S on your verb here. And the question structure. This is not only a problem with the simple present, but with every verb tense. So where does he work? Or how often do you have an appointment at the dentist? Question word, auxiliary, subject, verb. Question word, auxiliary, subject, verb. We will work on this a lot throughout the semester. So basically that's it. I wish you the best of luck. We're going to work a little bit in our books. For more help, of course, you can go to the Companion website, or you can visit the English Help Center. It is open every day at lunchtime. The schedules are posted around the college. Or of course, you may come and see me anytime. Thank you.